Okay, thank you for joining us today on our Coffee with a Local Leader series. Today we have David Blish with us, who is a Director of Healthcare Consulting. A little bit about David is that he works for Katz Sapper & Miller's Healthcare Resource Group. David's expertise is in strategic and financial planning for hospitals, health systems, and physician group. David has extensive healthcare experience and provides in-depth consulting in the areas of hospital mergers and affiliations, physician alignment structures, including employment, clinically integrated networks, and co-management arrangements, clinical institute models, including specialty hospitals and bed towers, value-based reimbursements, and compensation models, community health needs assessments, physician compensation planning, design, and performance measurement, population health management.
Yeah, you don't read that. We throw as many keywords into those things as possible for search optimization. So you may stop at any point.
Well, you've got a load of experience, so we're super excited to have you join us today. Would you like to tell us a bit more about yourself, your career journey?
Yeah. Good morning, folks. Is it Yushi?
Yes, it's Yuchi.
Yuchi, great. Anne, how are you? David Blish. I'm with Katz Sapper & Miller. Now we're branding as KSM. Local accounting consulting firm. You see our buildings right there on 96. You see it on 465 as you're driving around. We buy a lot of branding down at the Baker's Life or whatever it's called now. So you've probably seen our name around. I've been with the firm 7 years. It'll be 8 in May. Always been in the healthcare space. Just quickly, healthcare journey, education-wise, is I was an X-ray tech when I started, so I got some clinical experience for 6-7 years. Went back to school, got business MBA and then an MHA. They had a 2-for-1 deal, so I said, why not? Pretty much been in the hospital strategy space ever since. Good 10 years or so on the provider side, and then 10 years on the consulting side. What I do on a daily basis is work with our clients that are mainly larger, medium-sized to semi-large hospitals or physician groups that are independent, that want to work together somehow in a economically meaningful yet legal way. And those types of projects will also do an awful lot of financial projections and models and what ifs. A lot of independent physician groups will want to help have assistance in evaluating proposals or thinking about de novo ASCs or things like that. And then a third leg of what I do is kind of working on the purely compensation side. Fair market valuation is part of what Katz offers. I don't necessarily do that too much. I'm not a certified valuator, but I will help on compensation design and process flow. And if you're in the techie space, you know that the way CMS has defined some of the components of the compensation, mainly work RVUs, is in flux or has changed over the last year, and that's created quite a ripple effect in the whole physician compensation world. COVID didn't help either. So that's a kind of a quick overview of what I do on a daily basis. Since there's only 2 of us, I would just kind of suggest you come off mute if possible and tell us, maybe tell me kind of what you're interested in or how your career has developed. Is that okay with you? Because I'm Corey, but I know you're not Corey.
Yeah, my name says Corey, but I'm not Corey. Yeah, if they would like to come off mute, that's perfectly fine. If not, we'll keep the ball rolling.
So
Well,
what was,
I'll be glad to come off mute. I'm not on camera this morning, but my name is Ann Johnston and I work for Ascension
Oh.
Medical Group actually in Evansville. And I am in the physician space, if you will. And my actually started my career in healthcare nearly 23 years ago. I'm a physical therapist by clinical background. So like you, started in kind of a clinical world and evolved into different administrative roles over the course of my career, all of them spent actually at Ascension here in Evansville. So I have kind of a vast inpatient and outpatient ambulatory work experience, and most recently have been directly involved with physician contracting, fair market value assessments, and so that's been, eye-opening. As you mentioned, the CMS changes kind of rocked all of our worlds, apples to oranges all over the place, and that has created a lot of interesting conversations amongst folks who don't necessarily understand the ins and outs of that. So can appreciate your work and have actually been probably a recipient over time.
St. Mary's, now Ascension Evansville, has been we work for them. Not directly, but one-off sometimes with some of your ASC projects. I think you have some joint ventures and call coverage, I know. So with the physician, so we've done that. Brad Ray, maybe. I know we tried to get a little bit. We tried to do more work when Keith Jewell was there. If you've been there long enough to remember.
I have.
So
sure.
So he right. So, but it's been a while. It's always it's a good, good community down there, good hospital, and it's been a while since I've been there, but now that 69's open, you can get there, so that's good.
That's right. Makes it really easy.
Yeah. And then yeah, if you've been in the physician space, you're well aware that the whole compensation planning and execution is challenging, and just broadly, lots of hospitals will just ask for spot support every now and then on, we need to tweak our compensation model, or, we want to move in a more proactive direction and incorporate more value-based elements. And I know that both of you are involved in how that actually rolls out and what that means, and physician education and absorbing the backlash and some of that stuff. So that's a lot of that's a lot of work. That's an awful lot of work, but it's something that is very important to get right and to move slowly and deliberately, because when you kind of get down to it, it's someone's paycheck, and yeah, they make a lot of money, more than us, but still, you kind of want your paycheck to be right.
Absolutely. And I do value very much what the physicians do. And I years ago had to kind of reconcile in my mind that, well, poor you only make, X hundred thousands of dollars a year. But I don't think of my role that way. I really want to be sure that we are treating our physicians fairly, as I want to be treated fairly. And, they do have a unique skill set, and the biggest thing that we've heard here of recent is, I've never had a cost of living increase, and every year my compensation has stayed the same. It just depends on how hard I want to work, and so they're a mindset of everyone around them realizing a cost of living type of increase that they are not benefiting from in their minds is just always interesting. For 10 years I've not had a pay increase. Well, it's just interesting.
Yeah, that's a matter of perspective. I mean,
right.
Are you looking at the total comp for the work RVU rate?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yuchi, what about you? What are what's your background and interests? And you obviously clicked the button to join this call. So what are you hoping to get out of this? How can I help you?
This is really good. Actually, this is my first event from joining the chapter. I just joined the chapter literally a week ago.
Oh, well, there you
Yeah,
go.
my friend told me, "Hey, you should join this chapter. It's incredible." So I said, "Sure, I should do that." So yeah, I talked to Rodney, talked to a bunch of our leadership here, and it's incredible. So this is my first event. So my name is Yuchi Song. I'm the executive director from IU Health, managing their commercial health insurance. So I'm the
Oh,
payer. I'm the payer.
yeah, you're fair side. I what Iowa Health?
IU Health, Indiana University.
IU Health. Ah,
IU
yeah,
Health,
yeah, yeah.
yes, in town.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's a very interesting settings, as you can tell. It's a provider-sponsored health plans.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have two 700-pound gorillas in the room, right? We have United Health and we have Anthem. So it gives us a very interesting position to survive and thrive and grow.
Yeah. And IU Health is always are you new to the market? I mean, have you
Yes.
been in Indiana a while? Okay, yeah.
I moved from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yep.
Okay, yeah. Well, then you've got a lot of UPMC, and you're well familiar with
Yeah,
how health insurers and hospitals work or don't work together.
exactly. That was my former employer. Yep.
UPMC or the Highmark or the okay,
Both.
both. Okay.
Yeah, I enjoy the blue and purple over there for quite some time. I heard that they have some little ugly fight over there for a while.
I don't.
Don't bother.
It's not my market, so I pay enough so I can drop some words and be somewhat knowledgeable. But yeah, it's complex.
Mhm.
If you go back long enough, IU's health plan used to be called Sagmore, and it was kind of a joint venture with someone else. I don't remember. And then, God, I think they sold it, and then they came back. I don't know. It's evolved a couple times, and I know that the IU Health has been big on the risk. The health plan has been big on the risk products because you've got the leverage to. You've got the resources and the depth to go at risk. And I know we can kind of link you, and what Ann does is, linking how the payment stream goes from the insurance to the provider and making sure everyone's aligned on the metrics and moving the needle. And of course, that's what non-Corey Jose does. Miss Corey, that's not Miss Corey, does is make sure the implementation of those value-based metrics is going in the right way. Way back in the day, when I first cut my teeth on the healthcare side, I was in Toledo at ProMedica, and they were cutting edge a little bit, and they had all three branches: acute care, physician care, and managed care, way back in the 80s. And this is just kind of neither here nor there, but they set up the cap rates so the physician group technically took full risk. So, as an example, their insurance arm would pay $100 PMPM to the physician group, and out of that, the hospital had a subcap of 60, I guess. And it is what it is, and it really kind of didn't matter because the physician group showed a loss, and it was all subsidized back at a level above. But they did that to kind of prop up the books more or less of the physician entity and get them used to what risk contracts are like and how a capitation works, knowing that it was all kind of funny money because it's money coming out of the insurance side, going into the physician side, then going into the acute care side. So, where it stops and where the profit return is somewhat of an accounting drill. So, and I know that, you still have pure staff model type HMOs that do that. Kaiser Permanente comes to mind. And I know that more aggressive systems are trying to get there. And ACOs are kind of like that, but not really. I don't know. Ann, is your I don't know, what's the Ascension Insurance owned product these days? Is that even on your radar in terms of things to worry about?
Ascension Complete, I think, is the plan. It's on our radar from my perspective, just kind of peripherally, in terms of my involvement with it. But it has evolved over time. I can't even tell you for sure what percentage of our patients are members, or what that looks like.
Yeah, and this is where I do somewhat feel sorry for the younger entrants that kind of have to learn the whole history of how managed care has evolved over the last 20 years. Because, I'm in my 50s. Sorry. People like me have grown up with it in the career-wise and understand why physician groups have their motivation and why insurance groups have their motivation and how that has changed over time. So it is a lot to absorb in terms of, the difference between a provider network and insurance network, and where the risk lies, and the risk models, and so those things. So it is a lot of buzzwords and a lot of acronyms and a lot of tedium, and it does take a while to get used to that. So I don't know if, that's why, it's if you are considering consulting as a career or a transition, it is really helpful to have that exposure to the operating side of the world, just so you have a basis of understanding whether it's in the physician group, whether it's in acute care, whether it straddles the both somehow, or whether it's on the insurance/managed care side. Because healthcare as a entity, if you consider not only the delivery but the financing, is 20-something% of the GDP. I think it's 18 actually, but round it up, whatever. It's only trillions of dollars in those 2%. So what's it matter? But my point's the same. It's important you have a basis of a knowledge base that you can provide to your clients and add value to your firm, because we all have a job to do. My job is to help our clients with their unique needs. So what we do is ask them what they want, or why they called us, or what we can provide. Ideally, it's responding to what they call us and ask us to solve a problem, and we help. More likely, it's us calling them saying, hey, this is what we can do. Are you interested? So some of that sales aspect, which is completely new if you're in the provider world, or if you're delivering healthcare either financially or technically. So that's a new ad. So if you're not comfortable kind of doing that, confident representation and assertive, being an extrovert, even if you have to fake it, that's just something you can learn. But it helps if you have that kind of outgoing personality to begin with, and work with people and engage with them. And I am by no means an extrovert by personality type, but it's something you kind of develop when you realize you're on stage a little bit. And you don't get thrust into that immediately. No one's going to throw a 25-year-old, no offense, no one's going to throw a 25-year-old into a board meeting and expect them to present to multimillionaires about their business. So you do work up the career ladder to that point, but it points the same. It helps to understand the mechanics of whatever your specialty is, whether it's acute care, provider care, or the financial side. Megan, this is such a small group. We've elected to just make it interactive and share some history or career goals, or I'm here to help you for the next nine minutes. So how can I help? Or what can I talk about? Or how can I listen?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm currently working on my MPH, and I got an email about this, and it sounded interesting, so I figured I'd just pop in and see what's going on. Sorry I was late. I had another meeting that ran over, but
I get that. You know, that was a career track that was, Anne can maybe attest to this, was not particularly, it wasn't even on anyone's radar 20 years ago. Public health was something you did, well, it was a bureaucracy. It was something the municipalities did or the state or something like that. And if it's one thing that COVID has taught us is the importance of getting back to the community and the public, and in terms of just the basics of social determinants of health, and clearly vaccination status, and clean water, clean, food, food access, and those types of things. So that's a very interesting way. You might be interested that UCHI's in the managed care space for IU Health. And lots of insurance firms are looking at public health, because if you get right down to it, what they're measured on, most of the NCQAs, which if you're not familiar, should look into that. NCQA metrics and HEDIS metrics are around basic health status. And that's how an insurance product will get rated at the end of the year. And member satisfaction, of course, but how many of their members got their flu vaccinations? How many of them had their screening mammographies for women and colonoscopies, and all those little metrics are getting to be brought into the public health space in terms of how what you can do from a policy perspective to support that. So there's just quite a lot of overlap between how the public health world, epidemiology world fits into managed care. So I'm not sure exactly where you are in your schooling or where you're thinking of going with that, but my only advice there is the private world will pay a lot more than the public world.
Usually does.
Yeah,
for sure. I worked for the state of Indiana for several years, so not
FSA.
anything related to health necessarily.
Oh,
okay. But yeah, so I'm familiar with the pay scale relative to other places. So
what division did you work for in the state? I mean, was it
well, I worked for the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, and did most recently worked for creating or recreating, I guess, the quality assurance department for the contact center. And so and I've got some experience in like operations of the different branches and things like that. So so
one of our clients is a regional area agency on aging, and that's squarely their grant, what do I say, title, they're all the titles in terms of how the money flows from the government. Yeah, it flows, technically the state writes it, but the feds fund it. But all that money goes into the area agency on aging, and there's a new emphasis on aging at home rather than nursing homes, because nursing homes are expensive. And so they are slowly changing the funding structure of that, because Medicare does not fund long-term care at all, limited like 3 days or something like that. Medicaid does, however, once you qualify. So all of the long-term care dollars on Medicaid are just killing the state budget. So the question is, what can they do about that? And one of the answers is, well, get people out of nursing homes and allow them to age at home. It's cheaper. It's a lot cheaper to have aides come and check in every 2 hours or just live there than have the whole infrastructure of a nursing home.
Mhm.
So that's a new topic. That's something that has arisen and is very interesting. The only other thing that's of note is you said you had contact center experience, like
Mhm. Yeah.
people calling in. Is that
Yep.
the 211 or whatever it is, or is
No, it's a separate number, but yeah.
oh, okay. That whole thing's up for bid too, I thought. I mean, the state is trying to, I don't want to say privatize, but large chunks of that are like the entire Medicaid approval process, I believe, is outsourced to someone. When you
Mm.
call and want to get if you're on Medicaid and you want to understand your coverage, I mean, all the other get coverage it goes through that call center, and that's a subcontracted party. So, it
Yeah.
gets complicated so quick. One other cute project, while I'll bore you because you're paying, I'm here. We worked with the City of Indianapolis. Even though Indianapolis and Marion County are essentially the same governmental entity, they're different. And we worked with the Department of Corrections. And it's a huge challenge because everybody that gets into a fight or a bar fight or whatever, and law enforcement gets called and they've got a cut or they broke their arm or a knife wound or something small, those people are all technically in the correction system. And then they go to the public hospital, which is Eskenazi here. And they need treatment, and 9 times out of 10 they have no insurance. So who's going to cover that? And that's a big issue, because if they're already on Medicaid, that's one thing. Then Medicaid will cover it. If they have private insurance, great, but lots of times they have no insurance, so we're not talking about the highest socioeconomic status on these things. So how does that get funded? And the hospitals Eskenazi winds up eating the bill. Now, if they're admitted, they got a chance of preemptive eligibility for Medicaid, which is to say, we will cover you. We assume you're going to qualify, and then we'll retroactively double check it.
So why does preemptive eligibility not, I mean, I assume it's the rules, right? But other than that, like, is there a reason, could that ever be applied to people who are just,
but who's going to pay for it? Yeah, it could, but that's the money is the issue. I mean, we're talking a lot of dollars here.
Yeah.
Every ambulance run you hear is going to a hospital. And if it's part of a law enforcement action, that's the cost of care falls to the Department of Corrections, which is part of the function of the state and or the hospital. So it's just it's kind of a funny money battle between corrections and public health, Eskenazi being part of it. So, yes, you're right. That's a great question, was why can't preemptive eligibility cover those people? It's like, well, then, people can game the system on that. So you have to kind of have a check on that.
This has been really great conversation, great dialogue, great questions from everybody. Thank you so much. We are at our time. If you just have a few more minutes, David, would you, especially as she is a newer member to our chapter, really just explaining, why did you join ACHE and become a fellow? Any advice for those who are early careerist or, still a member of ACHE?
Yeah, ACHE is I've been involved for since. Thank you, Ann. I've been involved with ACHE for 25 years. I was in the student chapter. It's a great way to network. It's a great way for career development. You just meet people. Obviously, you get out of it whatever you put into it. So COVID's kind of messed with your ability to interact, but that's better now. We're back to in-person meetings. And it's really ACHE and the fellow status is kind of the only stamp of credibility and commitment. Not the only, but it's one of the better, it's one of the best and most visible ones in the provider space. So I would just, if you want to, kind of continue on that path and develop your career, it's something to strongly consider, because, it's a stamp of credibility. There are other stamps you can get. You can always get more degrees behind your name. But the ACHE and the fellow status kind of is your passport to proving you've done some stuff, you've met some educational goals, you're at a career level where you can participate on a meaningful level with the executive suite. So I would do everything you can to encourage you to just keep at it and pursue it. Nothing else. It's moderately cheap, but and then try and get your employer to pay for it. If you're a student, the student membership is really cheap. I think. What is it? This is like $100, or it used to be $100 when I was.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Thank you, Ichi.
Yes, thank you so much. Be sure to be on the lookout for our future Coffee with a Leader series. We'll be having one in calendar year 23 each month. So please be on the lookout for not only that event, but any other event that IAM will be putting on in the near future. So thank you, everyone. Have a great holiday and a happy new year.
Thank you.
Thank you.